All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Major Vibes Podcast, episode 4. I'm Andy. This is my brother Mish, and we're here to bring you the vibes. So why don't we get this podcast started, and we're going to go through the vibes of the day. Mish, you want to share?
Yeah, sure. So my vibe of the day today is 81, cruising. I had decent sleep, but my heart score was a little down, which increases my stress. So what does that mean? It means that my HRV was a little lower than average, and my resting heart rate was around baseline, but I'm feeling about 81 today, so that's pretty good.
Cool. My vibe score today is a 73, which pretty much matches things. It's been a busy week out of the routine, so I'm slowly trying to get better recoveries or vibes. And anyway, I had 6 hours of sleep, though my Whoop died in the around 5 or 6 a.m. I woke up at around 7:30, so it's not the full stats, but even from what it did record, I got 6 hours of sleep last night and 3.5 hours of restorative sleep, which is great. My heart score was 65, which is not great, especially when your average is 88. But like I said, it was a crazy busy week. We had a friend of ours from out of town in town for 3 or 4 days. So instead of having the normal routines that we have, we were just busy all throughout the day, all throughout the night, eating way later than normal, doing way different things than normal, not really working much. So everything around that week just gave me lower vibes every single day. So now our buddy left and we're back to the routine, and very slowly we're climbing back up.
So how did that impact your weekly vibe score? Can you see how, what was your weekly average?
It's saying my weekly average is also 73. But if I just look here at the last, let me change my screen, at the 7 days, I've got a purple day, a green, a blue day, red, blue, red, and blue. So
2 reds in 1 week.
2 reds in 1 week, and I never even had a red in the 4 or 5 months that we've had an actual pair app. So the red days definitely is because we were eating at 8 o'clock at night, finishing around 9 or 10, where I'm normally done at 5 p.m. I go to bed, I'm digested, my energy is good. But this time I was only getting home at 10 o'clock. Then I needed an hour or two of downtime to chill. Then I was going to bed late. The whole thing was messed up, so my scores were messed up. It's not the end of the world, obviously, but I definitely don't feel as good, as recovered, as sharp as I normally do when I'm out of my routine for more than a day. How about you?
Same. I was below average. My average this week was 80. And when it's 80, my average is 86. So although I didn't do anything crazy, I didn't party, I didn't do any of that stuff, just not being in my daily routine or my nightly routine, and I'm moving at the same time, it tends to throw things off, and it's good to have that visibility. The Whoop recovery score, my HRV was actually really high, because I guess those long days of golf, because we golfed a lot, in the freezing cold was kind of like a cardio exercise, because you're taking on a lot of stress, which actually lifted my HRV. But the vibe score pretty much represents how I'm feeling. About 80 is pretty much it. I wasn't able to get into a good groove this week, so it was a down week according to my average. But I'm very excited to get back into a flow. I wasn't able to do what I normally do.
Well, you're moving this week, so your flow ain't going to exist at least for another 7 to 12 days.
Yes.
But we'll figure something out.
We'll figure it out. And that's why we're doing the podcast here. We wanted to do it outside. We wanted to do it earlier this week, but it is Sunday. The podcast is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
The positive of that is that we can discuss relevant topics that are live.
True. You know? It has been a crazy week in the world. Not to get political, but there was an election. Donald Trump won, made a lot of people happy, made a lot of people really pissed off, and made a lot of people sad. Regardless of all of that, the takeaway for us here at Pair, at least for me, is that they want to make America healthy again. And that is because of Robert Kennedy Jr., who I like a lot. And maybe people don't like Donald Trump, but maybe it's giving people a little bit of hope that at least we're going to make America healthy again. And RFK, being a Democrat, teaming up with Trump, who is not a Democrat, is going to be interesting. But as far as the health and wellness community goes, which is what we're all about, I think it's a huge win. So I'm really excited to see what they do when they tackle things in big pharma, things like vaccines and all these other things that we don't know about. So I think it'll be fun.
I think I forgot to mention that we stayed up till 3 a.m. to see the results, right? We stayed up.
Oh, that's true. We did stay up. I did stay up and then watch the speeches and all that. I do enjoy watching that. I don't enjoy talking about it on social media, but personally, I do enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like sports.
Yeah, it's just
whose team won. There's some people are happy, some people are sad, but
I do look, sorry to cut you off again, but I do see politics as like nothing different than an episode of the Kardashians. There are more consequences to what happens in politics than what happens in the Kardashian world. But at the end of the day, it's divisive. People love him, people hate it, and nobody will ever agree on it. So you just watch it like a TV show and you do what you got to do.
I think that's why Pear exists at a perfect time, because the whole Make America Healthy Again is a beautiful concept, because politics are so divisive and they have to do with outward things. They're not focused on what you can do personally. Sure, maybe voting, but your outlook on life when your locus of control is internal versus external. Because if this happens or that happens and then your life is ruined, that's kind of putting ownership and responsibility outward, while there's so much that we can do internally and personally and within our small group that can make us just feel better, be happier, be healthier.
Yeah.
So it would be, I don't know, it'd be so cool to be able to just talk about Pear and see how we can integrate Pear with the world, with America, with whatever. These are the future long-term goals. But if more people had accountability or self-awareness on how they're actually doing and how that affects their mental state, then a lot of people who are arguing could potentially see that they're in a fighting state, when if they just regulated the way they slept and regulated the way they feed themselves and are aware of what they put in their mouths and how that affects them, perhaps there would be a different lens on being so aggressive, right?
Oh, for sure. Well, I know from, 10 years ago, when I was 100 pounds heavier than I am now, my diet consisted of scotch, wine, giant pastas for lunch, huge steaks for dinner, and about 40 shots. Living that life versus the life I live right now, just putting healthier things inside my body and nourishing my soul with good people around me and not energy suckers, has changed my life in every amazing way possible. I wake up feeling good. I'm a lot more confident in what I'm doing. I don't feel the need to impress anybody. And that's literally just changing the chemical balance inside your body. When you're constantly eating shitty food, junk, you're drinking alcohol, you're doing drugs all the time. Sure, there are quick little wins that make you feel good in the moment, but overall, you're really not doing your body and your soul any favors. So knowing that from experience, if we're going to make America healthy again and make the world healthy again by doing subtle little tweaks, I think everybody is going to be better off.
Yeah, I think there'll be a friendlier, happier world, a world where I just find it as a business, building a business where we're watching this stuff internally, because the whole thing is, it's based on the principle that the outward reality that we see is a projection of our internal state. And whether that's personal or whether that's your company or whether that's your family, if everyone, if you're unhealthy, you have an unhealthy view of the world. If you are in a company that's unhealthy, then the product it creates potentially is not that helpful of a product because it's outputting something that is its internal state. So like that's my view on things. And that's why I figured if we build a company with these fundamental values of healthy internal people, or at least self-aware, like we don't have to be like the healthiest, literally obsessive about every facet of health and our chemical components and all this. Just if you can have some visibility, have a little awareness and empathy for those around you, we can probably build a business with a little less resistance, a little less ego, and move faster. And if we're building a product that people use that actually helps them be nicer, healthier, smoother, then I don't know. That's just why I'm pumped about all this.
Yeah, no, it's all good stuff. So whether everyone likes or hates the way the presidential election went, I think the takeaway on both sides that we can look at as a positive is at least we're trying to get healthy again and maybe making subtle little tweaks to the ingredients that we eat in our everyday food. Some of the toxic stuff, just replace it with non-toxic stuff. Just little things like that you never will even taste the difference or anything like that. Just those little things can make such a huge difference to life overall, because not just in our daily active lives, the way we feel, but in the future health of like children, adults, everybody with cancer. Like they say, oh, this has cancer, this potentially caused cancer. Well, I don't know for sure, but I know that if we replace bad ingredients with good ones, the chances of having cancer and sickness are way less. If they're way less, everyone is way better off, because nobody wants to be sick, nobody wants to spend money on big pharma, and nobody wants to die. So to me, it's a win. That's the way I see this election.
Anything that helps you fundamentally feel better a little bit is great. Ingredients is one thing. I think loneliness is terrible. I think like in terms of cancer or causing cancer, not a doctor, but it's a lot of things that pile up together. There are a lot of people who socialize a lot and maybe who drink alcohol here and there, and they don't get cancer, like, but what's interesting is that the lonelier we are, because that's been the consistent thing, the lonelier that we are, the more stressed out we are, because we are
in our heads.
Yeah, we're social creatures. We're not meant to be alone all the time thinking about all these terrible things. So I know as soon as I start eating cookies at night, for some reason I start having all these thoughts about, oh man, I should have done that, or I should do this. My mind starts like racing in a hamster wheel. And it's a terrible, terrible feeling. But when I'm out and about and I'm hanging out with friends and I'm having a huge ass steak like we were the other night, I was having an amazing time and I slept so well. But being home, consuming, the photons from the TV that are making me digest that light, and like any act of consumption is stressful on your body. But if we're stressing with like hours and hours of TV and then ingesting really stressful ingredients like high sugars or high calories or whatever it is, that makes the mind get really sour. And that's when we start getting angry. We start getting aggravated. And if Pear can be a self-awareness tool, and my whole thing was, if we can get more people to use Pear and then get great companies and great brands to participate in the wellness journeys of the people, like Whole Foods gives you 10% off because you've been tracking 50 days in a row. And people actually had a reason to track their stuff to get healthier, then everyone wins. Everyone's like exploding in health, and everyone is a little friendlier, more creative. I say it all the time, but really that's what it is. And being healthy to be healthy, the guy who works 90 hours a week and gets home and has a couple of beers, like that is relaxing for him because he's so damn stressed out. But if now there was something that would affect his paycheck or would affect his balance in his bank in a way that could benefit him and bring him less stress, then there's been no real incentive to be healthy. There hasn't been.
No.
So that's just how I see all this stuff.
I want to, though you said when you're eating junk food, cookies or donuts or whatever at night, you like start to question yourself, or am I doing this? That's never happened to me strictly just from eating junk food. It only happens to me when I'm smoking weed. And, well, when I'm smoking weed and I get high, a lot of times it happens where that's when I start to question, is everything I'm doing insane? Like everything that I'm like, you start to question your past, your present, your future. What am I doing? Everything starts to become really sketchy. And to me, that's not the food. To me, that's the weed, which is the one thing I don't like about smoking weed. It really makes me second guess everything that I'm doing. So
Like crazy, right?
yeah, but just eating junk food on the couch, no, I don't.
It
However,
does for me.
I don't ever eat junk food on the couch unless I'm high. And I don't get high that often. If I do, it's usually as a tool to like maybe sleep if I'm not able to sleep. But there's never a time where I'm like relaxing at night and I'm like, oh, I want to eat a whole box of Oreos. It only happens if I smoke and I get the munchies. So when I don't smoke at all, I don't get that feeling. When I do smoke, like I did the other day, and I'm like starting to guess myself and question myself, what am I doing? And then you wake up in the morning, everything is great again. So maybe that's just, I don't know, is that just me? Is it just you? Is it because we're working right now in a very high stress kind of thing where we're really going all in on this business and it is a scary kind of thing that if it doesn't work out, like what are we going to do? Because I'm trying to think in the past, if I was like smoking and just having a good time, was I second guessing myself? Because I feel like maybe it just brings out the way you're feeling. If you're stressed, you're going to be extra stressed. If you're super chill and mellow and happy, you're going to be extra mellow and chillo and happy. Chillo. I don't know.
Next and chill and happy. Well, look, it's been 38 days that I haven't smoked weed.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I ingest inflammatory foods, boom, it turns it on exactly like I smoked weed.
Okay.
A reason why I stopped is because I'm building this business and I don't need an extra layer of self-questioning.
For sure.
And although I'm eating shit much less now because the two are entangled, I still get that if I'm eating like shit.
Okay, cool.
So it works together. And we never actually smoked weed before. We drank.
Yeah, I haven't drank a sip of alcohol in 3 or 4 years now. I use it to cook a lot, but you kind of burn the alcohol away.
Yeah, so that whole, it's a combination of things as it always is. It's not that one thing, but if I'm just rotting on the couch, watching stuff and eating crap without being high, I'm getting those things. Whether it's the TV, whether it's the things, whether it's me not working, but also if we're building a business, our subconscious mind is secure and safe in this current state. Anything, if you're building a business that could potentially be life-changing, it is scary for your system. If you haven't been working out, if you haven't been eating well, your system is afraid of the unknown. Mm-hmm. It is not afraid of its current state.
No.
That's why we all seem to, it's like our gravity is always rooted in the present. It wants to keep us here because our subconscious, which its sole purpose, or one of its purposes, is to maintain safety and security. If we are doing something that is going to lead to an unknown future, which is what we're doing, like we don't know if what we'll be doing in 3 months regarding this business. We don't know what shows we'll be going to. We don't know where this podcast is going. We don't know anything. We're literally living in the unknown.
Yeah.
So anything that is
uncomfortable
will be brought to light. So if I get high and I start thinking all these things, like, has everything I've done in the last 10 years completely nonsense? And am I lying to myself every day? And am I lying to myself every day? And at night, am I seeing the truth of reality? And I'm learning to understand my thoughts, put away the ones that don't serve me. And I ask myself this one logical question. How come from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., I am so motivated, so excited, so positive about what we're doing? Mm-hmm. And I'm at my healthiest because during the day, we're rocking, we're moving, we're in meetings, there's flow, there's action. Mm-hmm. It's as soon as we sit still and we start consuming, I get these thoughts. So to me, it's, no, I'm right during the day. And at night, I'm fugazi.
Do you think it's also at night because your energy has completely depleted? That
for sure.
Because I'd say, like, even if you're the most motivated, if you're not eating junk food, you're eating healthy at night, whatever, even if you're not sitting down to watch TV, if you're reading a book, like, you're still probably going to feel pretty depleted, I think.
Definitely feel depleted. And I was thinking about this. I do want to have a discipline meter. I don't know exactly, like, at least in a very rudimentary way, if we can have it, let's say your vibe score is 86, that's where your discipline starts for the day. And as the day goes, no matter who you are, it's going down. So imagine you could see, oh shit, my discipline at 7 p.m. is about 20%. Don't listen to your thoughts. Delete Uber Eats. And anything that you do when your discipline meter's gone, like don't listen to your thoughts. Like ignore them. Ignore them, because you should consider your thoughts when you're high in the day, when you're rocking. And I think that's where I bring in loneliness. I live with Eula and Pisty and stuff, but we're just hanging out at night. We're just relaxing. But the weeks where we have a lack of, or the nights we have a lack of socializing, which we have a lot of lack of socialization. That's part of the reason where we're missing some essential nutrients. I think that just like protein and fats and carbs and exercise, you need a certain social input that keeps you healthy and excited. Like when we golfed with your friend Tyler, and we were talking about Pear, and he was all excited about how he can use it and what device does he want to get. That was such a socially enriching experience. And we need to get more of those going. And part of Pear that you're really excited about is the fact that you can now meet or connect with people who are living this kind of lifestyle. Because I think a lot of why we don't socialize is that most people socialize over alcohol. And if we don't want to drink alcohol, we're just like, well, I'm not going to socialize.
Yeah, because even I could go to a bar and be sober, but I don't want to talk to drunk or tipsy people. They're not my kind of people. It's not what I want to be.
Yeah, it's not like they're not nice people, but
no, it's just not my vibe.
But you don't want to go hang out in a bar.
Yeah.
But that was the concept of the Boozless bar, which once we have 30, 40, 50,000
subscribers,
users, Pear users per major city, we can just pop open those Boozless bars, and all the Pear users can go there and hang out in a place where you can socialize and get that juice of positive social interactions without the pressure. Even though we don't have the pressure to drink. Actually, I had a drink the other day, and I had one beer and I was hungover. I'm such a fucking pussy. That's just is what it is. Where I used to be able to, drink like crazy and everything, but the idea that you can meet with people who have the same health goals as you, I think is going to reinvigorate our health just based on the social factor. A big reason why we wanted to start this company was to connect with people who are aligned with us so that we can start interacting again without that social lubricant that's very inflammatory. So the best part of drinking was community. That's why we really loved it, because we were getting together with our friends every Friday.
Oh, yeah, and that's why a lot of people do it. Actually, I want to bring up this point, which is, how do I bring it up? It was such a good point too. I was waiting for you to finish, and then I just deleted out of my memory.
That's okay. That's okay. But making people healthy again, and why we call them tribes, we don't call them groups, we call them tribes. Also, for branding differentiation, but psychologically, we're not, social media hurts because we're getting so many inputs from so many different people, and it's unnatural for our brains to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
Also, if we're dealing with everything we're seeing on social media is beyond our bandwidth, but in real life and real connections, it's very, very low, then there's a huge room for improvement, like a massive, massive room for improvement. And that's, once again, why I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, it's great.
So let's talk about investors.
Okay.
Let's sideline. We're raising money.
Yeah, we are raising money.
Because we're building a machine. We're building a great product that we're proud of. And what we want to do is raise money so that we can fuel this.
Yeah.
And build the best possible company possible. So who is an investor that you would love to have on board?
Dream investor for me?
Yeah.
I would have to say Kevin O'Leary. He's from the show Shark Tank. No, we're not going on Shark Tank, but he's a big investor. I really look up to him. I think he has a lot of good points when it comes to finance and the economy, which is things that I love to talk about. But also, he came to realizations. He's a wine guy. He has a vineyard or something, or his own wine company, and he loves to drink wine. But he realized drinking wine at night, at dinner or after dinner, was totally destroying his quality of sleep. So he was getting his hours of sleep, but his quality of sleep was crap. And obviously, we always say it, when your quality of sleep is crap, you're functioning way lesser than you should be the next day. So he got himself the Oura ring and he saw his metrics. So now he just said, you know what, I love wine, so I'll just drink it earlier in the day, for lunch. Stop drinking wine around 2 or 3 o'clock so that his body can digest it, all the stuff could be out of his system, and then he can get his quality sleep and therefore continue being an absolute beast in his day job.
Yeah, I think Kevin O'Leary's great.
And he's a funny guy, he's a cool guy, and he's a Canadian.
Yeah, fellow Canadian. And yeah, he gets it, he understands it. That's really important for major investors in Pear.
At least at this stage.
Is that they understand what we're trying to do. And not having to explain what we're trying to do. Like if we would have to start from scratch, say, hey, Kevin, are you aware of wearables? And are you aware of sleep data? And are you aware of HRV? Like imagine that conversation. It's like such a waste.
It is a waste. And like when I looked at what Strava did to initially raise, they brought up a good point, which is like 10, 12 years ago, like tracking anything wasn't cool. And showing your workouts and how many calories you're burning and stuff like that. Like they knew that if they went to just a regular investor who wasn't about that life, that they would not invest because they're not aligned and they wouldn't see the value of it. So they really buckled down and went towards investors in the fitness, health, wellness sector. And that's how they were able to raise, because you can explain the product and how it's a good investment. That's one thing. But if someone doesn't understand why the world would need it, then he's not your investor.
Totally. Yeah, 1,000,000%. It's just like, it's bad marketing, really. Like you wouldn't sell a protein shake at a Victoria's Secret, right? Like you go to a gym, you go to Costco, or not Costco, but you would have to go. You have to position yourself in marketing with people who are already fundamentally aligned with what you're doing. And that's why I think the branches of the brands that can participate in Pear would have to be aligned with what Pear's trying to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my dream investor would be Brian Johnson. So Brian Johnson, if you don't know him, is he's an investor. Well, he actually sold his company to PayPal for about $800 million. And he has now devoted his life to his project called Blueprint, among other things that he's doing. And Blueprint is where he's sharing all of his public data of all the tests that he's running on himself to make himself live forever or make himself young. And really what that is he's bringing, because his goal is so ambitious to live forever, he's cutting through marketing-wise. So when he started, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, like really putting this out, could have been a little longer, people were thinking this guy's nuts. He looks bizarre. He looks like Data from Star Trek. His skin's all white. He's putting all these creams. He
does look like a flesh eater.
He did.
He looks better now.
He's really looking better and better and better. And he measures his organs to see if the food he's eating is optimizing his organs. Because he knows that without data, you don't know how you're reacting. You don't know how your physiology is responding. It's all emotional based. And as we know, our emotions are mostly just trying to keep us to do what we are currently doing and give us all these excuses and rationalizations internally to keep living the lives we live. But he's like, no, I fired Evening Brian. That's what he calls the version of himself at the end of the day that has no discipline. He says, I'm removing all responsibility from him. I'm firing him because every decision that he makes is a horrible decision. And so what he's doing is he's bringing health awareness to the forefront. He wears a Whoop. His house is like the first conscious home that has all these, looks like a medical center. His son is on the same protocol as him. And long story short, he's another fundamentally aligned person that would be able to share his info for people to see. They could follow him on Pear. They could see his stats. And if Kevin O'Leary is the more mainstream but aligned version of what we're talking about, Brian Johnson is the ultra focused version. And I think it's a great business opportunity for both of them, because I really see the simplicity of Pear as being a driving factor to getting a mainstream audience or the everyday person to be able to start caring about their health, because we are not going super deep. We're actually almost doing what Windows did. I think Apple did it at first, but Windows really exploded on it. And the Windows concept is by having windows on your screen and having like folders on your screen, it made understanding and using computers accessible to the everyday person. I know that Bill Gates, love him or hate him, his initial hypothesis, or what his initial goal was to get every single person in the world
Using a Windows computer?
to use a computer. Windows or not, like, yes, obviously Windows, but to use a computer. And you couldn't teach the everyday person all the intricacies of like, oh, you got to code this, or you got to write in this script and this and that. It just made it easy for everybody to use. That's where Apple excelled. That's where Microsoft excelled. And I think that's what we'll do, because when we started talking about Pair, just on our, small social media accounts, people who didn't track their stuff are asking, how do I get a vibe score? Like one of your friends this morning, right? You were telling me, the girl in Florida, she said, how do I get my vibe score? So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, it's a friend of mine, Steph. She's a good friend of mine. We don't talk a lot. Like, we talk every few months. She's busy, I'm busy, we're doing our things. But I guess she saw my stories it was a screenshot of the homepage of Pair, and I was talking about my vibe and how it was crap yesterday and whatever. And she says, Andy, what is this? What is this vibe thing? I want to get my vibe. What's the app? I said, well, it doesn't exist yet. Like, it exists in beta mode where I'm building it right now. And I explained it to her a bit. And she's like, oh my God, I want that so much. And this is someone who works on herself all day, every single day. Gym, fitness, nutrition, cut out so many bad people, so many bad things out of her life. And she's really she strives for ultimate like awesomeness. And when I told her, she's like, that is the coolest app ever. I cannot wait to get on. She's like, my vibe is going to be great for sure. I know it. I know I'm a great vibe. And when I met this girl, Steph, I wasn't even sober at the time or anything. I was just like normal. This was, 7, 8 years ago. We hung out in Florida. I was like, this girl is so cool. Her vibe is amazing. She's just super happy-go-lucky. She doesn't question herself. If something's on her mind, she goes and does it. Doesn't care what anyone thinks. So yeah, I'm excited to get Steph on there because she'll be a power user.
That is amazing. I cannot. Yeah.
And just a great soul to be around. So if we can get more great souls to be on Pair and affect others the way they affect me, then that's a great thing.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about marketing. Are we going to set up a few campaigns, to explain use cases like why I love using it, why you love using it. And then there's a million ways we can go about it. But really, I think what we both agree on is that, let's say the next 15 to 50 users are going to teach us so much about how they're using it, what they are using, what they're not using it, if they're inviting friends to come on and be in their groups. Because I truly believe that, and this is the talking point that gets everyone excited. I was getting internet for my new place. And after we set up the internet, I noticed he was wearing an Apple Watch. And I said, hey, do you track your sleep? And like most people, he said, oh, I have tracked my sleep. Meaning they don't track their sleep.
No, it means he's gone into the settings once and looked.
Yeah, and he said the Apple Health stuff is not really great. So I downloaded this app, and he showed me the app. I can't remember the app. And I explained, well, I'm asking because we use your overnight health data to create a vibe score. So in the morning, you can know how you're vibing. And so he was like, okay, cool. The person next to him was like, what? You could track my vibe? Like, how cool is that? But then I showed him the feature where you can like add your favorites. You can see your friends. You can create groups with your loved ones and your family and all that stuff. And he said, oh my, like light bulb moment. He immediately signed up. He said, where can I sign up? Do you have a card? We're going to start getting cards and hand them out. And he said, a lot of my friends, and myself included, are, we're battling with mental health and stress levels and all this stuff. And if I could just see how my friends are doing, literally, then I could reach out to them more. They can reach out to me. We can connect on a little bit of a deeper basis. And he got it like immediately. And this is, I don't know, like a 23-year-old dude.
Yeah. And
I was just like, wow. Every time we bring up the friends and family thing, that's
see how your friends, see how your loved ones are doing.
It's the light bulb moment. We had an investor call, or at least a networking call earlier in the week. And the gentleman we were speaking to initially said, like after a couple minutes in, oh, I get what you're doing, but I don't really see myself using this. 10 minutes later, when we showed him the demo,
our app,
and we brought him through it, and I said, oh, look, this is my mom. I can see how she's doing today.
My wife.
This is my wife. this is my brother, and we could see this general stuff, how they're doing, how they're trending over the month, 3 months, 6 months. And he's like, well, I would absolutely use that. I would get my parents on that immediately. I would get my wife on that. Why would I not? And that seems to be the driver for, like, when you're pitching to someone, the elevator pitch, especially in this exploratory phase that we are, like, we're building it for a bunch of reasons. You can connect with wearable people who are health people. You can check on your friends and family. But when you're in the line of fire and you're one-on-one, you only have a couple of minutes or seconds to
impress,
but hit them on an emotional level where they see themselves using this thing. And I think the emotional component of seeing how your loved ones are doing has been like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's hit every time.
Is that the long-term goal? Well, of course it's part of the long-term goal. Connecting people, creating an ecosystem, connecting brands, essentially rewarding people for good health habits, which has a butterfly effect with the whole planet. But those are kind of like far, they're out of the immediate use case ability.
Well, we need to build the functioning features first to get people on, but all of these are future plans that we do have, and we're going to execute them. But yeah, it's like one step at a time. I'm always looking a year or two into the future where you always have to slap me and say, hey, what can we do to get this next feature rolling within 2 weeks? Think about that. Don't think about 2 years from now.
And like, how do we satisfy the next 50 users, not user 100 plus, right?
Yeah.
Or 100,000. Yeah, exactly. And all of those things are aligned, but it's about how do you create that story to get the first few people on. Like, I can't wait to get a bunch of your friends, because I have no friends, and you're the networking guy who has a lot of friends who are all excited to get on.
My thing is, I want to get people on mostly, but I think for every person that I bring on who wants to use Pair, because right now it's the people who are like seeing what we're doing and they're really excited to get on, but saying, okay, you can come on, but you need to bring someone.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that to everyone, because I know that there's some people who are wanting to use Pair because they're alone in this and they want to meet people on Pair who are like them.
Yeah.
So there are those people, but there are a bunch of people who I know who I'm like, okay, well, I'll get you on, but I need you to bring at least one person with you.
I think that will be fundamental to how it works. Like, whether we say you can't get on unless you invite someone, like, I don't know how that all works yet.
No, at this point in the demo, in this phase.
Yeah, and I think it'll be more rewarding with more people that you know on it. But I think we're understating the value of actually having a score.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So if people can come in alone and they get a score, but then they can see, whoa, I can invite someone that I know who has this, that's like another layer. So like our fundamental layer, you get a vibe score. Second layer, you can bring on a friend or your mom or whatever, and they'll invite someone who will invite someone else, and they'll all be creating their own little tribes. And rather than having, just like a big number, like we have this many users, I'm very excited about how many tribes have we created in our ecosystem. Because to me, that's super exciting. How many family friends are on? How many like family groups? How many friend groups? How many of these kinds of groups? Because those are people who actually care about the people that are in them with. And every morning, they're going to check.
Yeah.
And it's going to lead them to having beautiful conversations.
Agreed.
So pretty pumped about that.
Yeah.
So what's next on the horizon as we wrap up this episode 4?
Honestly, the past week has just been kind of like a weird whirlwind. We're just busy with friends that were in town. You're moving. Mom's doing stuff at her house. So there's been a lot of chaos. I'm very excited. I just took this weekend to chill, and I'm very excited to get back into the routine, to get back into Pair and get the show on the road. How about you?
Same. We're doing a couple more product integrations. So we'll be able to have more wearable users using the product within the next month. The update and the addition of the Friends tab within the homepage has been a game changer, because it literally brought the experience of the app like 100% better.
Yeah.
So very excited about that. And that's it. We keep on trucking. We are posting the content. This is a mechanism to explain what we're doing on a weekly basis, to be able to really explain, entertain, talk about current events. And really, we're just documenting the journey of this company.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm happy you joined us on this 4th episode.
And maybe episode 5, maybe will be in a new setup. My brother Mish here just moved into he's moving into a new place this week. And ideally, we take one of the guest rooms there and just turn it into an actual podcast studio. I don't have the extra room in my place.
Yeah, I do. I've got the gear. So
I don't know if we'll have it next week, but definitely within 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have like an official podcast setup, which is going to make our lives much easier.
Yeah, I would assume the next episode 5, maybe we have a guest, Sweet Yule.
Yep.
And we'll go to our regular
Spot.
because it's just easy to show up, shoot, and leave. But yeah, we'll be setting up a new podcast space.
Great.
And so that's it for this week, fellow time travelers.
Yep. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be back same time, same place, different week next week. Take it easy.
See you next time, and may the vibes be with you.